Hello, this is Tommy Franks. Welcome to the 4-Star Leadership Podcast, a product of the General Tommy Franks Leadership Institute and Museum. We're here to get a view into the lives of the legacy makers, the movers and the shakers of today, to offer insights from the full spectrum of the leadership community. We'll talk to former 4-star students and explore their leadership development path. We'll work to find out what they are about today and learn from the opportunities they've made for themselves in this world. It's my distinct pleasure to welcome you to this podcast. Remember, leaders are not born, they're developed.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Core Principles of Leadership with General Tommy Franks. I am your host, Elise Travis. We're on episode number 21 with our guest, David Tre Edgerton, and we'll be talking about his aspirations since he left 4-Star in 2018, where he was an amazing speech scholarship winner. But before we get into our program, we'll have a word from our major sponsor, REI Oklahoma.
REI Oklahoma is proud to be a part of the General Tommy Franks Leadership Institute in the production and distribution of these podcasts designed to inspire leaders and difference makers. At REI Oklahoma, we have been working with small business leaders, entrepreneurs, and people who are driven to succeed for years. Highly motivated people working to own their own businesses, live in their own homes, and make the world a better place. Since its beginning, REI Oklahoma has continued to identify hurdles and deliver holistic solutions to create job growth and help neighborhoods thrive in both rural and urban communities. REI Oklahoma looks forward to visiting with you about helping your business and community grow. Visit reiok.org or call 800-658-2823 to start the conversation.
The LaBar family is a fourth-generation Oklahoma family. That may not sound like a long time, but our grandfathers were born here, within the Comanche Nation, before the land grants. We are the proudest sponsor of the Tommy Franks 4-Star Leadership Podcast. We hope listeners will heed the words of these distinguished men and women who have served our country at the highest levels and across all walks of life.
David Edgerton III is a Juris Doctor candidate at Howard University School of Law by way of St. Paul, Minnesota. He has dedicated his life to service and community action. He was named a Global Scholar and elected Student Council Representative for the Council on International Education Exchange during his time abroad in Spain, Italy, and England. An aspiring multi-vocational change agent after obtaining his law degree, he will pursue a career in civil rights law and young adult ministry. He believes that it is our duty as a nation to build up every child from every background and will not stop until this goal is achieved. Please welcome David, or as we know him as Tre Edgerton. Okay, Tre Edgerton, or actually David Tre Edgerton, thank you so much for joining us on the 4-Star Leader Podcast, where we share the 4 core principles of leadership. You were a 2018 4-Star alum and absolutely one of our rock star students. And I would like to start. Would you share with us, welcome, and then would you share with us kind of where you started? You came from East Ridge High School in St. Paul, Minnesota. Kind of start out and share with us about that and how you got to 4-Star.
Sure. So I am born and raised in the Midwest, was born in Indianapolis, and then I moved to Minnesota, southeastern suburban metropolitan area when I was 20 months. So Minnesota is all I know, all I know. I bleed purple and gold. And yes, growing up in that area, I was exposed a lot in part from my parents about the value of leadership. My mother, she got a master's degree in leadership, and I was in high school And she always put me in so many different camps, leadership camps, cultural exchange camps. However, I stumbled upon 4-Star Leadership Camp, and it was right after my senior year of high school. I wanted to get one last camp in before I had to go off to college at Howard University in Washington, D.C. And I've actually never been to Oklahoma before, and I've been to quite a few states, and I knew I wanted to mark that off my list. So, by the grace of God, I was accepted to the program, and yes, it was truly life-changing, even down to just seeing red dirt. Growing up in the Midwest, I'm used to seeing snow all the time. So this was just an amazing change of scenery. It was definitely a lot warmer than what I'm used to. However, I loved the people that I met. In fact, there is an individual that I met at the program. She was a year below me, and I convinced her to come to Howard University, and now she is doing amazing, stellar work there in the Howard University community. But yes, growing up in Minnesota, I was one of the few African-American men. Kindergarten through high school, I was actually the only African-American male in my elementary school class. I went to a Spanish immersion school in suburban Minnesota, and that's just what's expected when it comes to the demographics. And I didn't see too many people like me. However, that did not stop me from wanting to be a leader and to inspire those that, whether they do look like me or not, to want to achieve their very best.
So were you bilingual in school?
Yes. I am still fluent in Spanish. It was a kindergarten through 8th grade program. And then in high school, I took Spanish classes through the University of Minnesota, and I was able to receive a certificate of language proficiency on a high pass level. And I studied abroad in Spain, where I was able to utilize my Spanish language. And I still continue to use that throughout my budding legal career.
Did you have any do you have any brothers and sisters that your mother encouraged the way she did your education?
In fact, I do. I have a younger brother who was 5 years younger than me that actually attended the 4-Star Leadership Camp to my urging. And then I have another sister who is 10 years younger than me. So we're all 5 years apart. And she's in middle school. And I assume that she will be attending this camp in a few years when she reaches high school.
That's great. We will welcome that, because I remember that your younger brother was here. I didn't know how many additional brothers and sisters you had. So I am sure that your mother encouraged your younger brother and, of course, your younger sister, too, to follow the same path that you have taken, which is you just, as I said, blew us away, because you are a really rock star student. They all are. But there's just some that stand out. And of course, you stood out because you were our first place speech winner and our second place 4-Star Leader Award. And the Star Leader is selected by the fellow students. And so that's a pretty hefty nod in your favor to be selected by your peers. So you went on to you got your degree at Howard in political science in 2021, and then you returned to speak at 4-Star as an alumni in 2021. You also got a minor in legal communications. Is that right?
Yes, that is. So, I graduated in 3 years.
Oh, wow. So what inspired you for your major? Was it the leadership that your mother encouraged?
I'd say that when I think of leadership, especially in the United States, it is heavily in the policy level, and I wanted to enact real systematic change. I wanted to be able to learn about how our government worked, and what better location than the nation's capital here in Washington, D.C. And Howard University Political Science program has an extensive history of producing change makers and leaders and individuals that care about the least of these and being able to advocate for those individuals. And I always had an interest in law, and I knew that with the legal communications minor, all of my professors were going to be attorneys, and that's really just a very unique experience. And that's why I chose Howard University, amongst other things, and why I chose political science.
Were there any kind of life-changing experiences in high school that really propelled you towards that, in addition to the leadership that your mother encouraged, or any struggles that you want to share? Or were you pretty much
Yes. So it's funny because my dad, he is an electrical engineer, and he's really into computers and science, and he really wanted to motivate us towards that STEM path. And at first I was very set on becoming a computer science major. I was going to go to Silicon Valley, make the next Facebook, what have you. And then I had a lovely class called AP Physics, and that was not my best friend. I knew then on in the very first semester that STEM is not for me. To all the people that they can succeed and that's just their jam, more power to you. But science was not for me. I took AP Calculus, A, B, and BC, and all I received back was a big question mark. So I knew, okay, maybe engineering isn't in my field, in my cards, but I was on the speech and debate team, and I was very interested in using words to enact change, to whether that's changing people's moods or changing people's opinions on certain topics. And there's a quote from a former dean of Howard University School of Law that, lawyers can either be parasites or they can be social engineers. And so, okay, that there's engineering there. I'm still, while I might not be doing the traditional route of an engineer, lawyers, at least coming from my school, are prepared and trained to become social engineers and those who enact great change through the use of the law. So that's, I'd say, those things coupled with a lot of the events that were going on in Minnesota throughout my high school experience. Philando Castile passing away. He worked across the street from my church. And, I was just going to Bible study on Wednesday evening, and I saw the protests. I saw people were up in arms and they were agitated and angry because an injustice occurred. And we see even in 2020 with George Floyd, that instance occurring again. There are a lot of issues dealing with race relations that can be solved through the practice of law and through the education of all people about what it truly means to be a United States citizen, what civil rights every person is entitled to. And I wanted to be an individual that helps spark and lead that conversation.
I can appreciate your aspirations. It's definitely part of our culture that we are working in, and I think it's really important, and I truly admire your aspirations and your work. and your struggles too in learning what you thought you wanted to do, that maybe that wasn't really a door that was going to open for you very easily. So I think it's important to embrace those things in your life that you maybe thought you wanted to do, but maybe, or the direction you thought you wanted to go, but then maybe it's not. And so you look at it and embrace it and decide what good came from that and where do I need to go? So you were a Truman Scholar, and you're now, as I mentioned, at the Howard University School of Law, graduating in 2023. You are very active. Do you want to tell us about all the activities that you have been engaged in, and how that kind of supported your inspiration, what you're doing?
Yes. So throughout Howard University undergrad and law school, I've been a member of the NAACP, which is the first collegiate chapter of the NAACP in history, and I was the political action committee chairman. In addition to that, I was a member and eventual president of the Howard University speech and debate team, which was an awesome experience. I got to participate in the great Howard versus Harvard debate exhibition. In addition to that, I was the civic engagement coordinator for Student Government Association in undergrad. I did other roles in student government overall. And I had several internships throughout this time period. I worked at the National Education Association. I worked at the Minnesota Children's Museum, where I was where I coordinated the high school volunteers. In addition to that, I worked at the St. Paul Department of Human Rights, where I helped develop a 12-month program for individuals recently released from prison to get back on their feet. I'm trying to think all the things that I really did. I was very involved, I will say.
Yes, very involved.
In addition to, I've done a lot. I worked in the executive office for the National League of Cities. And most recently, I worked at the Council of State Governments in their National Center for Interstate Compacts, where I helped write Supreme Court case briefs, contract language, and bylaw language for interstate compact commissions, which are essentially contracts between states. In this case, specifically dealing with workplace licensure. So, for example, if you are a nurse or an occupational therapist, you require a license. I helped write agreements between states that allowed individuals to receive a license in a separate state, which was really, really important for individuals, specifically military spouses who travel to every 2 or 3 years, making it easier for them to be able to get back up and work when it came time for them to relocate.
Is that what got you interested?
And I wish I could say that's the only thing.
No, go ahead.
I said I wish I could say that's the only thing that I've done, but I've really just tried to, using the pillars. I learned and through my parents before Star about being a leader, being able to help as much as I can in as many ways as I can, whether it's volunteering in the community, being a part of a student organization, or through any work employment that I've had.
Thank you for mentioning 4-star again, because I want to go back to that. What were your takeaways from 4-star? How was it different from you participated and attended in several different leadership opportunities? Can you share with us what your takeaway from 4-star was, maybe how it was different or any inspiration that you had there?
So 4-star is a very unique program in which you have a whole bunch of student leaders brought together, and you are being taught on a college campus. You live there for a week. You get to experience what college life is even before you attend or even know which school you want to go to. And I think that is important, because that exposure is necessary for individuals who they might be first generation or they've never been on a college campus beforehand. And then you couple that with the different sessions and modules on leadership. I remember that there was even, I believe there was an award for individuals who take the best notes. And, prior to this juncture, I was not the biggest note taker. I didn't really see the importance of them, but just being able to listen to such a wide and diverse array of speakers from so many different backgrounds, I think that it helped expand my own horizons. I mean, I literally touched and held an Olympic medal. I don't know too many other people that can say that. And just being able to feel that, I mean, I'm not an athlete myself, but for those who might be athletes, like, this is attainable. When you see something, when you can touch it, when you can smell it, when you can experience it, and you see individuals right in front of you saying that have already done it, you can do it as well. I think that was the main takeaway that I got from this experience. And I am forever grateful for the 4-star leadership camp.
So it kind of removed all doubt of what you could achieve. Is that that's what I'm understanding that you...
Yes, I'd say that it really did. It removed all doubt, just to be able to learn even about what 4-star General Tommy Franks, what he had to endure to get to where he is, lets me know that the road or the path to success is not always linear, but it ebbs and flows, and you just have to be willing to come back every single day, make the bed every single day, and continue going forth.
Yes, because General Frank's story is quite unique in that he enlisted as a private and retired as a 4-star general 38 years later. And that just doesn't happen, but it is attainable. And that's his story, is that leadership development is so important, and anything is attainable if you truly apply yourself. Is that what you kind of what you got from him? So, well, wonderful. And so now you are an aspiring multi-vocational change agent after obtaining your law degree in 2023. Share with us a little bit about that and what inspired you to go that direction, because I know that what you would do in that situation, and tell me if I'm correct, is you would help to adjust business transitions, innovations, identify needs for change, and persuade colleagues that coming changes are necessary and beneficial, and create kind of a workspace environment that's open to change. And I can see you doing all of those things. And so would you share with us if that's the description that you agree with, and kind of the direction that you're taking it?
Sure. So being a multi-vocational change agent. So after I obtained my JD, sit for the bar, pass the bar on the first time, God willing, I will be an official attorney. I will be able to practice law. And I think many times when you think about an attorney, they can quite often be pigeonholed into one specific area, whether it's a corporate litigation, whether it's criminal defense, being a prosecutor, what have you. I personally do not feel that I need to put myself into a hole. I believe that I can do more with my law degree than what is the traditional route. I believe that I can use it to teach, to educate others. I can use it to inspire others, whether it's actually being a practicing attorney, which I do plan to do. I do plan on starting my own law firm in the near future, whenever, the Lord leads me to do so. But I also plan on teaching. I also plan on getting into young adult ministry. I want to be a mediator, which is, while it might be in certain instances using a law degree, you require a completely different certification to be able to handle disputes within individuals. I want to be able to say that I achieved my purpose and not only trying to strive for a position. And so when I think of a multi-vocational change agent, one word does not pop to my head. I think that it is a conglomeration of so many different disciplines, of so many different perspectives, all united to create some sort of change in this world. And the change that I would like to see in this world is for every single child from every single background to be able to achieve their dreams and what they believe their purpose is in this world without any limitations.
Let's pause for just a moment to hear from one of our great sponsors.
Hello, this is Jay Zacharias with the General Tommy Franks Leadership Institute and Museum, and I would like to tell you about one of our partner sponsors. His name is Justin Krieger, and he has worked as an independent insurance agent at Krieger Insurance Agency in his hometown of Hobart, Oklahoma since 1999. Justin is honored to help with the annual Celebration of Freedom event and has been a board member for the General Tommy Franks Leadership Institute and Museum for many years. He is also a fifth-generation farmer and rancher in Kiowa County, where cattle, crops, and even insurance is sold with a handshake. Give him a call at 580-726-3076 or come by the office if you would like to speak with Justin Krieger or Kathy Langford about insurance. We are thankful to our customers and friends who have supported us through the years. Again, Justin would like to say how honored he is to live in such a great country and how proud he is to help sponsor these podcasts. Please enjoy the rest of this podcast experience from your friends at Krieger Insurance Agency.
Now let's get back to our episode. Thank you for that. And I'll be so excited to watch as you continue to grow and communicate with us what it is you're doing. And I know that you are a great strategic thinker. You have exhibited that quite well. You are a great communicator. The speech that you gave at 4-Star was unbelievably inspiring. And you would think, when you opened up your speech, you think, well, the Pledge of Allegiance, that was your speech. I will never forget. And what an outstanding, unbelievable presentation you gave on the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know if you can remember some parts from your speech, but it just blew us all away. And so I think that you will be I'm just really excited to see what you do. Let's talk about your speech, the Pledge of Allegiance. And when we release this podcast, it will be released the last Friday in October, and will be basically our November podcast, which November, as we know, holds Veterans Day, is what we think about for the month of November. Can you share with me your thoughts on, if you remember, the components of your speech, the Star Spangled Banner and Veterans Day? I know you have some veterans in your family. Maybe what inspired you to create that presentation on the Pledge of Allegiance?
The first thing that comes to mind right now is my beloved godmother, Sharon Jones. She was a member of the Army 20 plus years. She did several tours in Afghanistan, Iraq. And she was my second mother. She just passed away this past March. And she would always say the Star Spangled Banner. She would always do the Pledge of Allegiance. And she continued as a civilian to work and help veterans. Outside of my godmother, there are, my uncle Steve, who's a staff sergeant, who's in the Army band for 20 years. He just retired last year. And there are so many more members of my family that have served this country through the military. And I think it's a very unique position to be Black and serve in the military. If you think historically speaking, one thing I learned in preparation to becoming a Truman Scholar is that, and I believe it was 1948 that, or sometimes in the 1940s, don't quote me, but Harry S. Truman, he desegregated the military for the first time. But African Americans, Black individuals have been fighting in these wars. Even think of the very first person that died in the Revolutionary War was a Black person. So we've been here. And we've fought in the Civil War, fighting for our freedom from slavery, fought in several different wars, and sometimes and often came back home to a divided world, and not necessarily being able to enjoy the same luxuries as other veterans. And I say all this to say is that I really do love the fact that my family and even people today, I have several friends that are in the military, they're able to continue to serve this country, continue to have a passion and willingness to be able to give their life because they still believe in the American dream. They still believe in this idea that all men are created equal. And even in times where it may not feel like that, when they go back home, they leave their home country so that other individuals can share this right, with the belief and hope that when they come home, they will be able to continue to feel that. They will be able to continue to know that the United States of America is still the land of the free. It is the land of opportunity. It is a land where, irregardless of your background, you can achieve great things. And when I wrote that speech, I was thinking of my family. I was thinking about the dichotomy between being Black and being in the military. And there are so many veterans that whether you are Black or not, that are suffering in the United States and can sometimes feel neglected from the country that they chose to dedicate their life to. And I wanted to ensure that everyone had an understanding and a respect for veterans. And tying that in, that's why I led my speech doing the Pledge of Allegiance in Spanish. While Spanish is, not everyone knows Spanish, not everyone speaks Spanish, but it is the second most popular language in the United States. There are a lot of individuals in the Latinx community that are veterans. And so I wanted to ensure that, or I wanted to rather spread and point out this message that, yes, I pledge allegiance to this flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, regardless of your race, of your creed, of your religion, one nation under God. And while it is up for debate on whether or not that the United States is a Christian nation or a religious nation, regardless, we are under God, indivisible, meaning that no matter what history we may have in the past, what injustice may come in the future, that we will be united. And that is something that's really beautiful to me and something I hold near and dear to my heart.
Yes, your presentation in that speech was so inspiring, and I just can't say enough about it to describe it. But it was, as I said, it was truly inspiring. And I think it's a great subject for the upcoming month and Veterans Day. You also returned in 2021, as I mentioned, as a alumni on the alumni panel to speak to the students about your experience at 4-Star, what your takeaways were. And can you share maybe some of the advice for our students who might be listening, any potential students, and also our adult leaders, what you shared with our students and what you would share today as far as the path that you've come so far? And
I think one thing that I could share at any moment is to never give up and keep going. That sounds cliche. I've heard that a million times before. You know, they put it on cereal boxes, they put it in commercials, they put it on t-shirts. But if you really listen, never give up. Even that's what they need to hear. It's the even if part. Even if I have negative balance in the bank account, even if my parents, I've never met them, even if I come from a background that not many people understand, even if it is difficult, even if no one else has done it, even if it takes me longer to do it than I expected, even if I may lose some friends on the way, even if my family may call me crazy, even if, never give up. And I promise you that consistency, that internal drive, not external. You can't be doing it for anybody else. You have to do it for what you believe is your purpose. And your purpose in this world is not, and this may sound counterintuitive because I said you're not doing it for anyone else, but it is to serve others. And so you don't give up, not to say that, oh, I didn't give up. It's for the next generation to show them, hey, listen to me. Yeah, I got knocked down a couple times. Yeah, I might not have accomplished the timeline, my own timeline, but what did I not do? I didn't give up. And I kept going. and I carried on the race. And there's something that they always tell us in law school. Law school is a marathon, not a sprint. And they say that because in your very first semester in law school, your 1L year, you are essentially thrown in the deep end of the swimming pool without a life vest, not even a manual, and you are expected to float and to stay up. And it's difficult. It's not impossible, or else there would be zero lawyers. And they always tell you that. I mean, there are so many hundreds of thousands of lawyers in the United States. What makes you any less than them? What makes you not worth it? If you got into this school, that means that someone out there believed in you, that you can carry on, and that you can make great things happen with your life through the practice of law. And this is not just catered to those who want to get into law, although if you do, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. But for people that want to become doctors, people that want to be engineers, and, for my engineers, bless you when it comes to the math and sciences. That was not my testimony. But good luck to you all. But if you want to be a dancer, creative, you want to be a plumber, a truck driver, even if college may not even be in your future, and that people pause there. They say, wait a minute. We're all supposed to go to college. We're all supposed to go to university. That might not be for everyone. And even if that's not for you, that does not make you any less than someone else. I think about my grandparents, my grandfather. He never spent a day past, I believe, middle school in school, and yet he went on to be able to provide for his family and to have a long career as both a pastor and he worked in a factory. And his wife that went on to do nonprofit and community work that helped hundreds, if not thousands of people. But you have to know what your purpose is. And you have to be okay with your purpose not being what the person to the left and the right of you is. And to keep going, to never give up. Don't stop. And even if you do stop, even if it gets too much, you keep crawling. If you can't sprint, you walk. And if you can't walk, you crawl. But whatever you do, you keep moving forward. You might go up or down, but regardless, just keep moving forward and the rest will figure itself out.
Thank you so much for that, Tre. Speaking of reaching out, you said if they want to reach out to you, do you still communicate with other students in 4-star? You mentioned that one of your classmates in 4-star is now at Howard. And so do you still have students from 4-star that you reach out to? Because that's one of the things we highly encourage, is that you're in a totally different level of students that operate on a much higher level than some. And so it's really important to engage with the other students while you're at the program and continue those relationships afterwards. I see a lot of students mentoring each other. I think it's very important. So I guess my question is, are you still in touch with other students, and did you experience that?
Yes. So I believe I was the oldest member of my cohort. And so the upcoming year, I volunteered to read people's college essays to guide them in the right direction for what school they might want to attend, what career or program, preparing for the standardized test, what have you. And I think that was very rich. I continue to, this specific individual who is at Howard University, I see her on occasion, and she's really flourishing and really coming into her own purpose. I will say that even having this conversation, I feel a little convicted. It's maybe I can communicate and reach out even more now that most of us are, if they have not, graduated, they are in upperclassmen in college, and seeing how I can help them with their next stage. And I just want to be able to, continue to build these bonds, because the people that you meet high school, the people that you meet in college, they can be with you for the rest of your life, and you don't know what they may offer later down the line, or what you can offer them.
And I think that's very important. As I mentioned, it's a different level of mindset and achievement, and it's really important to share that with each other and really support and engage. And I appreciate all of you and how you do support each other. It's really heartwarming for us here at 4-Star to see the students when they reach out to us and tell us what they've been doing. It's truly amazing. Some students have already started their own nonprofits because they are truly servant leaders and are truly serving their communities and the world. And as General Frank says, the students in the classrooms today are the next presidents, prime ministers, governors, the next leaders. And it's truly important to develop those leadership skills. Leaders are just not born. They are developed. And that's what we're about, is developing leadership skills. And it's not easy. It's hard. And there are struggles. But that's what leadership is about, is solving problems. And that's what I'm so pleased to see your aspirations in multi-vocational change, because that's basically solving problems. And you solve one problem, and then, you get, as Warren Martin says, you get a bigger problem. And that's truly what it's about. And because people then start bringing that you are well known as a good problem solver, like, help us with this. We need you on,
yes,
to help us with this task and help us work through this. And it's a lot of strategic planning and thinking and critical thinking. So especially I was wondering if the 4 core principles of leadership, caring, communication, common vision, and character, which I know are so well ingrained in you, do you think about those principles as you move forward that you learned in 4-Star?
I do. Before I even answer that, you just reminded me, when I was developing my nonprofit, I actually reached out to a 4-Star member in my class who had already developed on how to form a board of directors, how to get registered and incorporated and all these things. So that's just an example right there of how others have even helped myself. But to answer your question, when I think about, when you're a lawyer, one, you have to be able to communicate effectively and efficiently. When you are trying to share a legal issue or a legal problem with your clients, you have to be caring. You have to show their empathy, that you are more than just a paycheck for me. You are more than just a file number. It requires a certain level of love and care. And I just think about what it truly means to be a leader. And being a leader isn't just a position. It isn't just someone telling you, oh, you're the boss. It's being able to motivate individuals around you to be their very best, and also be able to mentor other people to show them how that they can go on and care for others, to be leaders themselves. And so I really do hold these core tenets to my heart. And I can thank 4-star leadership for really exemplifying these pillars and showing me how I can be not only a leader on paper, but a leader in practice.
Yes. And I know that, as you mentioned, our program is a week-long program on the university campus, and it's very intense. Every minute is accounted for, and we make use of every minute. And I know there's a huge sleep deficit at the end of the week, but I think it's really important, and students feel like they come through the program, and then at the end of it, I see the eyes in midweek, like, oh my gosh, how are we going to accomplish all these things? How are we going to get this done? And they're concerned, but they come out on Thursday night at the awards banquet, and they're just all smiles and thank you so much, and I think it's the sense of accomplishment of what they actually accomplished during that week at 4-star, even though it was very intense, even though they were drinking from a fire hose. It's the sense of accomplishment that you have at the end, and you come out the other side much better for it. And it's just pretty amazing, and it's so heartwarming. And then you get kind of misty-eyed, and you think, this is why we do 4-star. It's just a great program, and it's great to be on this side too. And I promise it's just as intense for us who are presenting and making things happen. And it's just as intense on our side as well, even though it probably doesn't seem that way. But so is there anything else that you would like to share with our students? We've kind of come to the end of our time, and I know you've got classes to go to and responsibilities. Is there anything else that you want to share with our students and adult listeners alike?
To the students, I would say, please, 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 please apply for the 4-star leadership program, and encourage your friends to apply as well. You will learn a lot, and you will be better for it. To the adults, please, 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 please support the 4-star leadership program. It can be very difficult. I assume I've never ran a leadership camp. I assume it's difficult and time consuming, and it requires a lot of resources. And we need programs like this to help the next generation, to encourage them to be their very best. And so to the adults, to both adults and students, never give up, keep going. And yes, just listen to the pillars of 4-star leadership, ingrain them in your heart, be a kind person. And I think, the rest will figure itself out.
Thank you so much, Tre. I appreciate your time and your words to share, as I mentioned, with our students and our adult listeners. And you have a great rest of your day, and we appreciate your time spent with us and all of your words of wisdom. Hang in there. I know you won't quit, and have a great day.
You as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you again to REI Oklahoma for making this podcast possible. For nearly 40 years, the board, staff, patrons, and supporters of the nonprofit economic development REI Oklahoma are committed to expanding Oklahoma's economic prosperity, earning the reputation of being one of the most comprehensive economic development organizations in the country. Business loans, training workshops, business consulting, and networking opportunities, as well as technical assistance and even commercial business space, are made available to Oklahoma entrepreneurs and small businesses. For low and moderate income individuals and families, down payment and or closing cost assistance is offered. Learn more at reiok.org. This has been the 4-Star Leadership Podcast. Now it's your turn, 4-Star listeners. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what you thought of this episode. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast, and tune in next month for our next episode that airs every last Friday each month. Go be great.
The LaBar family is a fourth-generation Oklahoma family. That may not sound like a long time, but our grandfathers were born here, within the Comanche Nation, before the land runs. We are the proudest sponsor of the Tommy Franks 4-Star Leadership Podcast. We hope listeners will heed the words of these distinguished men and women who have served our country at the highest levels and across all walks of life.